Red Pill Relationships, an introduction with Paul Elam and Tom Golden.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And once again, we find ourselves at a crossroads. I'm Paul Elam, and this is my good friend Tom Golden from menaregood.com, and they certainly are.
Indeed, they are.
We have come up with a new discussion that we're going to launch today. And we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about for a few minutes here before we get started. But what we've noticed, both of us being men in long-term relationships and knowing that a lot of our audience is one way or another, they're either dating women or in relationships. We know that a lot of guys are MGTOW and don't date, and some of them are completely monk lifestyle. And that's certainly something that we honor. Yes. And understand the reasons that people do that. But absolutely. I think the overwhelming evidence before us all is that red pill men, for the most part, are going to pair bond or want to pair bond or will at some point in the future. So the question then becomes, how to operate within relationships with all this red pill knowledge you got going on in your head, but you're going to be facing blue pill challenges. And so Tom and I quickly came up with like 15 or 18 topics to do over the next several months. And I'm sure that those discussions will breed other topics. Now, that's the good news. We've got this new discussion. We think that a lot of men will be interested in it, even if we know that some men won't, and that's fine. But the other side of this is that we're going from this, after this presentation of this discussion, this is going to become a patrons only and subscribe star only matter for Tom and I at a new Patreon that we'll be launching and a new subscribe star account that we'll be launching. We'll give you updates on that, and Tom and I and Janice meet regularly, and you'll be hearing updates on this when we go to the official launch, and you'll be given links. We want to both provide this, not just to the men who really want to see it, but as something special for people who actually kick into the tip jar and support our work. That is greatly appreciated, and I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm always left with the feeling that I haven't been providing enough just to the people that are supporting what we do. Yeah. And so we're going to offer that to them. Like I said, the announcements on when it'll officially start will come in the near future. But every other episode that we do of this henceforth are going to be for patron and subscribe star only. Now, the good news about that is that it's not an expensive affair. You will be able to, say on the Patreon, you'll be able to subscribe for $1 per video and cap it at one video per month. So your cost we plan on doing it weekly, your cost for doing this will be $1 a month. Same thing on Subscribestar, which is a monthly subscription. They don't have per video choices on Subscribestar. But we're also there, and we encourage you to go there and to our shared account, which we will be providing to support it there. And that is pretty much in a nutshell what we're going to be doing. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Tom?
No, Paul, I think that was a pretty good summary. It's just that we want people to get this knowledge, and I think we have some good knowledge for people to be able to use in relationships from the years and years we've both spent helping men to do this.
That is, that's a discussion all in its own, Tom, because what we know about this culture is that men are left to sort of twist in the wind.
Yep.
When it comes to relationships.
Yep.
Their fathers generally do not mentor them into holding their own in relationships. Men are taught how to please women and what they must do. You must open the door. You must pay for things. This is how you treat a woman. You don't talk that way to them. Here's all the things you need to do in order to have women's approval. Men are pretty good about teaching their sons that sort of thing, and I use the word pretty good loosely. But what we end up with is a bunch of gynocentrism. Men being gynocentric for the most part, don't teach their sons to not be gynocentric.
Right.
And wisdom tells us and experience tells us that we need mentorship out there for men of all ages about how they operate with women. And one of the first things that popped up in my mind on the benefit of this, Tom, is that I've heard from men regularly over the years that they feel defenseless with women.
Right.
I mean, and sometimes you have to dig to get a guy to admit this. But if you can connect with him enough, most men, or a lot of them anyway, will eventually tell you that when she, pins me down and tells me what was said and when and what I did wrong, I don't even feel like I know what to say to defend myself. So, and what most men do is they end up going, okay, whatever, or they get mad and say you're a fucking bitch or something like that, or something destructive on the other side of the reaction, but they don't know how to connect with her and hold their own and turn that conversation around from being defensive to them being and standing their own ground. And
Yes.
and to me, and again, this is one of the things we don't teach men this. As a matter of fact, we teach men if they do that they hate women and they're wrong and that they're abusive.
That's it.
And
it's gotten a lot worse, Paul. In the last 50 years, it's gotten worse and worse. When you and I were dating, it was a much different scenario than it is today. And guys are really in a tough spot today because women are taught to be inflated. They're taught to be inflated, and they're taught that they didn't get what they deserved. And this is a huge, huge problem for relationships. You can't go into a relationship with someone when they think that kind of thing. It just doesn't work. And one of the things we'll be talking about is, when do you get out? When do you know that you need to get the hell out of this mess? We'll be talking about that and lots of other stuff.
And there is a complication in that. That is what Tom just said. We're going to be talking about that a lot. When to get out, how to get out, why you should get out, why it's okay to get out, and why that sometimes you need to get out, even though everything in you is screaming at you to stay. Because here's the problem. This is one of the dirty little secrets about men in relationships that we never talk about, is that there are millions and millions and millions of men that live with constant abuse, constant sexual manipulation, constant emotional abuse, constant, you never do this for me, you never do that. These forms of emotional and sexual blackmail that have become normal in our society. And that's one thing we're going to be talking about a lot. What is normal for so many women, especially in this day and age, is abuse. Their tack in relationships is abusive, and they think they're being normal. They even think they're being healthy because the mental health establishment has preached to them, oh, you go, girl. You go.
Be abusive.
Yes, be abusive. And that's exactly what they're taught.
Yeah.
And so men are taught this too. They're being told, hey, well, she's being truthful. She's being
getting her anger out.
Yes.
I'm sure, Paul, we're going to talk about the difference between hostility and anger, because that's a critical thing to know. And you can turn her right back around and say, no, I'm not going to take your hostility. If you're angry, we can deal with that, but not the hostility. Fuck that, So that's another thing we'll be talking about. There's all kinds of things we're going to talk about that I think men will find very, very helpful,
Boundaries being one of them.
Yes.
It is. And what Tom just described was a boundary that he's talking about men having a boundary between, okay, anger. Okay, you're angry at me. I get it. I want to hear what you got to say. Let's see if we can work this out. Your hostility, your punishment, your abuse, your manipulation. No, we're not going there.
That's it.
So part of it will be teaching men to teach women the difference between hostility. And one of the things, I don't know how you feel, Tom, because we haven't discussed this part, but I think part of the solution in this is that men have to become teachers, because women are just taught bullshit.
It's a necessity because there's so much erroneous crap out there. about this get your anger out stuff, or about this inflation for being female and the deflation for being male. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are now in the psyche of most women that, it has to be taught, and you have to stand up and say no.
Including the fact that most women, or particularly really attractive women, have had men chasing after them since they were 12, telling them their shit didn't stink.
Right.
And radiating a willingness to put up with anything in order to be accepted by them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're going to have a relationship with a woman, particularly an attractive one, you're going to contend with that. Her expectations have been warped entirely. And you're either going to bend to it and give her what she wants, or you're going to defend yourself.
And Paul and I both talked about probably the first one we're going to do is on saying no. Because that's critical. It's critical. How do you do that? Why will you do that?
And there's no and hell no.
Yeah, really.
And fuck no.
Yeah, indeed.
But one of the other things that we'll have to contend with this is for men to do their own introspection, because this is not all about the flaws in women.
Exactly.
We have to recognize that men are conditioned to, and they tend to act constantly in a state of fear with women, a fear of loss, fear of sexual rejection, fear of disapproval.
Right.
And that is the most crippling thing in the world, to live with that and to always give into it and to not know what to do with it. Well, as you can imagine, we've got a lot of topics we're going to cover. We just barely tapped on a couple of them right here, but we will be going over a great deal of material. I think this is going to be an interesting discussion for a lot of men.
I think it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be fun too, because Paul has a damn habit of making things funny,
Well, this is going to be one hell of a challenge to make.
I think you're up for it. We'll put some humor into this, but yeah, it's tough stuff. This is tough stuff, but
and it's all. I feel like I need to stress this too, and this is not funny at all. So much of feminism is projection. It is. You can look at feminism. You look at what the crap men have to put up, the hardships and everything else, and then you see women sitting in air-conditioned offices, in the 21st century, playing with their iPhone and talking about how oppressed they are. And no, the guy in the coal mine doesn't count. The truck driver doesn't count.
Right.
Part of this, and part of the problem, and we're going to address it over and over again, is that the saying that a movement is the radical notion that one sex is human beings, that really applies to men more than women. We've always treated women like they were human beings.
Exactly.
We treat men like they're human doings. Women are treated like they're human beings. There's never been a time in history where they weren't protected at the cost of life and limb and blood by men. And it's men that's been on the other side of that. And it's not that we want to portray men as victims. That's the last thing that will happen. But we will be stressing the idea, the importance of men accepting that they're human beings.
Yes.
They have intrinsic worth and value. And that putting up with abuse in exchange for love is an illusion. It's not love.
Yes, exactly.
At any rate, I think that pretty much finishes what we have to say about this. The new series is called Red Pill Relationships, and it's self-descriptive. It's talking about men who have adopted red pill lifestyle and red pill thinking and still have to contend with women, which is most of you. So this ought to be good for that, and we're hoping everybody enjoys it. And again, it's also a big thank you to the people that have taken the time and the effort to part with just a little bit of their hard-earned money to help keep us afloat in doing this kind of work.
Yes.
And so it's a thank you to you guys.
Yeah, it's a big thank you. That's right.
And with that, I think we can wrap things up.
All
And
right.
we should be back in about a week with the first discussion on red pill relationships. If it's a little bit longer than that, bear with us. We're sorting out some details, but we're both anxious to get this going.
Yes. Good.
And with
That's good.
that, we
We're
will
in.
wish you all a very good day. And remember,
Men are good, as are you.
bye-bye.
Take care. Can you turn the fucking thing off, Paul?
No, I think you have to turn the fucking thing off. I don't have an option to turn the fucking thing off.